Every day, it's something on the internet that's going on. Now things have gotten even worse, and currently, there doesn't even really seem to be a solution here, but the situation is evolving rapidly, so let me explain. Steam, as you know, is a platform for PC games, and within that platform, you have thousands of mods for all sorts of games. These mods do whatever you want pretty much, depending on the game, and they're widespread. There's nothing wrong with these mods, like for example, someone recently added Donkey from Shrek as a horse mount in Mafia the Old Country. Because, hell yeah, brother, why not? That's what I'm talking about. But you see, Valve is currently under a suspicious and very malicious attack. But the weirder part is that currently, nobody really knows who's actually causing this attack in the first place. This came to people's attention firstly from this Reddit post as seen here on screen, which is calling for Valve to protect mods on their platform due to a massive wave of DMCA claims. In case you don't know, DMCA stands for Digital Millennium Copyright Act. Basically, if someone uploads something on a site that doesn't belong to them, the owner of that content, like say a movie, game, or artwork, can file a DMCA claim against that upload and then get it taken down. It's supposed to, in theory, protect the rights of artists and companies, however, it has been used maliciously before. But now it's being used to effectively, and no, I am not kidding, completely rid Steam of mods. As you can see on screen from just a small amount of examples, the DMCA claims aren't even tied to just one genre or game or franchise, it's just carpet bombing everything. As it says, a DMCA notice of copyright infringement has been filed on this item. Valve will review the complaint and reach out to the person who posted this item and provide details and information on the next steps. This has worried Steam users for obvious reasons. Because if these claims aren't challenged, all of these mods or even the games could be taken down by these attacks. And if you enjoy the content, consider liking the video, subscribing to keep up to date, and leaving a comment with your own thoughts. But if you wanted a ground zero case, it would technically start with the game Hearts of Iron on Steam, where a mod, as you can see here, named The Fire Rises got released, which has also, as you can see, been DMCA claimed as well. So anyways, this mod got into a dispute between two different mod teams. There was a DMCA claim against it. Things got nasty between these mod groups, but ultimately, the Fire Rises stayed up. But now, a month or so later, it's been DMCA claimed again, but so too have hundreds, if not thousands, of other mods as well. The wild part is, due to the nature of these DMCA claims, nobody can technically tell who is behind which one specifically. DMCAs, like copyright infringement, can be abused, although DMCAs are much worse because, at least on YouTube anyway, if the person filing a copyright dispute against your video cannot actually provide proof that they own the rights to the thing they're copywriting against you, they will lose and it will be removed. Trust me, I've dealt with people in the past trying that against me. It didn't work because they didn't own what they claimed, but in the case of Steam, these DMCAs can essentially be issued by anyone, even if they technically do not own the rights to the thing that they're attacking. Meaning, currently, as I said, nobody knows where, who, or why these DMCA attacks are happening. It could very well just be, and I'm guessing here, so don't take this as a fact, but it could be a modder from one of those teams, who originally was fighting over that The Fire Rises mod that got them angry and then decided to just go scorched earth on everything. It could also be, and this is where it gets nastier, if it ends up being true, which I'm not claiming it is, but groups like Collective Shout and more could also be behind these things too. Now again, I'm not claiming that they are behind it, but it is suspicious how these things are happening and lining up, if you ask me. As seen here from GameDeveloper.com, Valve has officially pushed back against the censorship instilled upon them by payment processors like Mastercard. Valve, in case you don't know, they got censored by Collective Shout already, a pro-feminist Australian organization a few weeks back, where they went after Mastercard and Visa to force Valve to remove not safe for work games from their storefront or face financial oblivion pretty much. Yet, following this whole fiasco, Mastercard has stated that they were not responsible, where they said, as it reads here, Mastercard has not evaluated any game or required restrictions of any activity on game creator sites and platforms contrary to media reports and allegations. Our payment network follows standards based on the rule of law. Put simply, we allow all lawful purchases on our network. At the same time, we require merchants to have appropriate controls to ensure Mastercard cards cannot be used for unlawful purchases, including illegal adult content. So Mastercard denies censoring Valve and Steam. However, according to Valve, they flat out came to their own defense and told everyone that Mastercard, well, they were lying through their teeth to save their own skin. This statement, which comes from this article here on screen from Kotaku, is where Valve officially responded to Mastercard's claims that they weren't to blame for the blatant censorship, and here's what Valve said. Mastercard did not communicate with Valve directly despite our request to do so. Mastercard communicated with payment processors and their acquiring banks. Payment processors communicated this with Valve, and we replied by outlining Steam's policy since 2018 of attempting to distribute games that are legal for distribution. Payment processors rejected this, and specifically cited Mastercard's Rule 5.12.7 and risk to the Mastercard brand. It continues, Rule 5.12.7 states that merchants must not submit to its acquirer and a customer must not submit to the interchange system. Any transaction that is illegal or in the sole discretion of the corporation may damage the goodwill of the corporation or reflect negatively on the marks. Valve had more to say. The sale of a product or service, including an image which is patently offensive and lacks serious artistic value, such as by way of example and not limitation images of non-consensual sexual behavior, sexual exploitation of a minor, non-consensual mutilation of a person or body part, and bestiality, or any other material that the corporation deems unacceptable to sell in connection with a mark. So, Valve pushed back, proved that Mastercard were liars who were pushing censorship, and since then, Mastercard has been pretty quiet on the whole matter. So I'm not saying that Mastercard is somehow behind this whole DMCA thing or either his collective shout. But the timing is, I think we can all agree on this, very suspicious when it comes to these DMCA claims against these mods. Because, in case you don't know, DMCA claims don't immediately take down content that is considered stolen or misusing those copyright policies. How it works on Steam is that the party that is issuing the claims, they file their reports, they give their names and whatnot, but due to how DMCAs are claimed against, anyone could technically do this. The DMCA is then sent to Valve, who takes it and then sends it to the modder or developer of whichever game is getting hit. Then the affected party has to then respond and show evidence to prove that they own the content that is being flagged. However, the system is flawed because even if you do own the rights to whatever it is that is being attacked, the DMCA can still be put in effect by the other person by simply, and this is crazy, rejecting your claim. So yes, it's a flawed system, and frankly, I don't even know why they would think this is a good way of doing things anyways. But following Valve rejecting Mastercard censorship, suddenly, all of a sudden pretty much, hundreds of mods are then flagged and content across the board is suddenly in danger of being removed without proper approval, even on Steam's forums right now. As of this video being made anyways, the issue is not really widespread enough that many people even know what's going on yet. I found one thread about it where a user was trying to bring attention to the issue, but it seemed as though a moderator immediately locked down the thread, claiming that this user wasn't authorized to speak about this on Steam's forums, which was really weird to see. Because these DMCA claims can be issued without even a proper email address, by the way. They just simply can just make up whatever they want, pick a mod or game they don't like, and bam, it's done. I don't know about you guys, but this just seems like a gross overreach of power that can just harm the future of mods or games even on Steam, don't you? I'm hoping by me making this video that people become more aware of what's going on so more people can tell others about it and get it more widespread. So please share the video or just the info, whatever you can, because this is getting bad fast. As this article from 2022 cites, this misuse of DMCA is really nothing new. As seen here, they detail how a guy who runs a blog about cryptocurrency published articles on his Substack. Then another group plagiarized his work and then published it on their site instead. They then DMCA'd this Mike Burgesberg guy who originally wrote those articles and then claimed that they owned it instead of him. This group, which is called UNFT, successfully then censored Mike's blog and got him taken off of Substack, until he was thankfully able to get his blog back and then fight them back in the end. But regardless, what I just described to you was pretty much lunacy, and that shouldn't have existed in the first place. Because that UNFT group was clearly in the wrong. They plagiarized him. It wasn't the other way around. And that's basically what is happening to Steam right now. But like I said earlier, Steam now has another problem here because when it comes to those DMCA claims, Steam is mostly just, and I mean, let's be real, they're just the messenger in this instance despite Valve owning Steam. Because DMCA claims fall into legal matters, therefore Valve can't technically just throw these claims away. What is likely going to happen, no matter what any one of us does, is probably this. These DMCA claims are going to be sent out, hundreds of mods and games are going to get affected. The people who worked on these mods cannot really refute the claims, and what'll happen next likely is that their mods or their games will be taken down after the said period of time runs out for them to dispute it. Then, these claims will then be reviewed in a legal format, by another party to ensure that the DMCA claims are legit, which they aren't, of course, but regardless, the amount of time it will take for hundreds, if not thousands of claims to be processed rightfully to ensure they're not legitimate claims, that will take a lot of time. Who knows, right? We're talking weeks, months, maybe years, I don't know. Eventually, sure, those mods could then come back to Steam. But by the time they do, the damage has been done, and this process can then continue at an infinite rate. And now all the mods on Steam, or whichever games can get hit, will have to go through all of these processes again. Meaning that whoever is doing this, they could be trolls, or who knows, it could even be Collective Shout trying to censor Steam, or whoever else. The point is that the claims can keep continuing without any real oversight. In Mastercard's case, it's even more nebulous because first they claim they cannot silence the sale of games or anything themselves, except that's not true. According to the thing I referred to before, their rule, the 5.12.7 of their rules, which falls under illegal or brand damaging transactions. Anyways, under that second part, it reads as follows. The sale of a product or service, including an image which is patently offensive and lacks serious artistic value. So this alone proves that Mastercard absolutely can censor the purchasing of something simply due to them as a company finding that thing being bought as offensive or I guess wrong thing. That is blatant censorship, and Steam is right to push back against this. Mastercard also mentions in their rules that anything that causes what they deem to be brand damaging could even face a penalty of upwards of $200,000, and that's at the bare minimum. I don't know about you, but that sounds like censorship to me. Of course, after getting what they wanted, places like Mastercard or Collective Shout have then tried to circumvent the criticism and hide behind lies. As detailed in this report by Collective Shout, they even attempted to make themselves seem like they were the victims of harassment, as they detailed here, which says, "We raised our objection to that word and incest games on Steam for months, and they ignored us for months. We approached payment processors because Steam did not respond to us. No, you reached out to Mastercard, Visa, PayPal, and more because you weren't getting the results that you wanted." Sort of how those DMCA claims became the next solution to a problem that these types want fixing. But as Collective Shout continues by saying, when it comes to even itch.io, that's another game platform site, we called on itch.io to remove that word and incest games that we argued normalized violence and abuse of women. Itch.io made the decision to remove all not safe for work content. Our objections were to content that involved sexualized violence and torture of women. No, you forced them to do that too. You see, everything that is happening right now is because there are groups who want to control everything. Steam pushed back against payment processors, only to now suddenly have to deal with DMCA claims that are attacking their most active game communities, and that cannot be a coincidence. If you ask me, Steam is under attack constantly these days. If it's not money-wise, it's content-wise then instead. None of this is right, and players in the Steam forums have called for Valve to stop these DMCA claims. Because unlike the payment processor fiasco, Valve actually does have the power to help these claims. And by some users' words, they have a moral obligation to protect their users on Steam. And if Valve doesn't act, this situation could worsen quickly. I'm sure by the time this video comes out, the story will had already developed further even. But it's very important to speak out against these things to get people talking, because if we stay silent, these groups will win. How long till they DMCA other platforms, games, or even YouTubers that are saying what they don't like in the future? Steam has to close the gates before the hinges fall off and then the hordes start piling in. But clearly, whether it's payment processors trying to police game developers or these nebulous troll accounts now trying to remove mods that they don't like, there is one truth here. Steam as a platform, they are under attack, and they need to respond before it's too late. But what do you think? Let me know in the comments. Thank you for watching, subscribe to keep up to date, and I'll see you in the next one.